Hello and welcome to Brutally Honest Level Review with your host, NateFH, the Geometry Dash YouTube series where I give my brutally honest review of levels with no sugarcoating. And in this week's video, we will be reviewing Rating Check by Zoroa. Remember to subscribe for more level reviews and make sure to comment what level you want me to review and I'll pick one out for the next episode. Rating Check by Zoroa is a hard demon created in 2.1. This was created for Icarus' second creator contest, which had the interesting restriction being that all levels must be a 9 circles level. This contest was going on at the same time I was building my own 9 circles level called Cerebral Hemorrhage. I was asked on several occasions if this was for Icarus' contest, and I didn't know what it was when I was building it. Anyway, the thing that makes Rating Check interesting is that it's also space themed, which leads to some cool gameplay. The first cube of Rating Check uses multiple different gameplay gimmicks in one part, such as holding orbs to skip them, random gameplay with this one brief section, using pads as obstacles, and some fakes. The first part does take a good bit to get used to, especially if you're at the point of skill where you just turn on your GD autopilot. The way you go into the ball after is by using the tech where you jump before the ball portal, which gives you a bit of extra height. Now this level does need this sign telling you what to do, as if it weren't there, then it would make finding the first coin a whole lot easier. Oh yeah, this level has coins, but more on those later. The ball itself is solid. Nothing about it is super hard, however it does have some fake orbs in the portals, and this bit where the blocks act like conveyor belts. Right after is a free fly ship part. Hey guys, remember, this is 2.1, this was some pretty fancy shit. The use of the big inputs combined with the free fly makes this ship section pretty enjoyable. In the second half, you enter the space station with it, requiring you to skip some orbs and hit others. I mean, you could also just skip this black orb just by holding past it. Right after the ship, you get to a UFO. This part is the easiest part of the whole level, and once you get past it one time from 0, you'll basically never die here. Even writing this about an hour and a half after beating Rating Check, I still forgot about this cube. Nothing crazy about it. The final part before the drop is this robot part that has a small ball at the end. The robot part plays fine, but it would benefit from using more varied jumps, as most of them are just small jumps with the exception of 2. The last little stretch is pretty good. I found it really fun how the part switches to ball, doubling the amount of inputs you do right before the drop. For a circles level, the drop of Rating Check starts pretty far into the level, starting at 44, when it's standard for most drops for 9 circles levels to start around 20 to 35. The drop does follow a more traditional circles level gameplay wise, with having some fakes and relatively low CPS. I like the flow that the wave has when the wave size changes with the song between the two halves. The second half of the first wave has two duels, with one being symmetrical and the other not. The asymmetrical duel does have a bug right at the end, where this cube can hit this slope. The mini wave at 68 annoys me because you only need to go over 5 of these spikes, but you'll just randomly die sometimes if you keep playing the part like normal, so I don't know why the spikes after those 5 are even there in the first place. There's this duel that splits the waves that uses the thing where you desync the duels to create this cool visual of them going different directions. The duel is a bit out of place, but I feel Zoroa made this just so you can make this transition to the next part. The last wave isn't as fun as the first wave, but still isn't bad. It uses these circular structures to make you do some weird movements with the wave. This gravity change at 68 did feel awkward, but it did get consistent. The level ends off with one of 2 possible clicks, depending if you get everything to get the last coin or not. Oh yeah, the coins. The first 2 coins are pretty good. The first has you avoid doing what the sign tells you to do, so you can hit this switch that lets you get the coin. Or you could do this. The second makes you jump over this blue pad and have you do some gameplay without some jump indicators. Oh, the horror. Now for the last coin, and I don't like it very much. To get the last coin, you need to activate 8 triggers scattered across all the waves, which requires you to do some hard inputs and a slightly harder last click. I found this was way too much for the last coin, considering that the first 2 were pretty chill. This also makes the wave pretty choke point heavy, and not to mention, you can miss this one at 51 very easily. I got annoyed enough with it to a point where I just stopped going for it. Now for the Deco. The first background has this corridor look with a background at the planet with 2 very bright moons. Most of the block designs in this part are segmented, with each segment not being super detailed. This leads to the blocks having great structuring while making them not a massive pain to decorate. Many other parts use this trick for the blocks, including the ball, ship, UFO, first wave, and duel. The part is getting 2 from this random part, which has this mirror in the background with a reflection. I like how the part feels with all the flickering lights and whatnot, but I wish that there was something in the black on the top and bottom other than some blinking text. The ball after is pretty cool as it looks like you're in a space station. The contrast between the warm blocks and everything else being grayscaled is nice. My favorite detail is that the stars in the window twinkle that Zoroa's cube got ejected from the ship. The ship and UFO after is my favorite section of the level. The speed lines combined with this jittery screen from the ship portals gives this feeling of intensity like you're going through an asteroid belt. Some of the assets are really creative, like these mini solar systems and this part with the stars that pop up. The background is really great as well. You even go into a second sort of space station with the orb part in this ship. Some of the colors in a few of the blocks are pretty muddy, which I'm not a fan of. The constellation cube after is pretty cool, and having some of these icons appear in the stars is really neat. I can tell that some of the blocks that are filled in were an absolute pain in the ass to make. This was 2.1, so stuff like warping, which would make this not so bad, didn't exist, but hey, it was worth it at the end. The robot after has the player jumping through an asteroid belt with this lime star in the background, which turns into a black hole right before the drop, which sucks the player in as a transition. It's a good way to build up to the drop. Okay, so I find the drop to be a bit disappointing, mainly because the whole space theme is barely present except for this one background. Now the other background in this style of block design works in context with it being space themed, but not by much. Now don't get me wrong, the wave parts look great, but I do wish it did more with the theme. The Extreme Demon Solar Flare does this pretty well, with all their backgrounds being space related, and even the blocks having some space elements in them, such as constellations. For me, the non-wave parts are almost more memorable due to them having this take on a space themed level. The duel after is pretty cool, and it sets up into the wave transition excellently, but like I said before, same with the wave, this doesn't really have much space in it. The last wave makes use of the classic 9 circle slopes as a background element. The main obstacles are made up of mostly circles, which really puts the circles in 9 circles. It's also in the classic 9 circles color scheme, which is a nice touch. Overall, Rin Trick is an enjoyable circles level, which does offer a different take on how circles levels are visually, albeit with a pretty annoying coin. With all being said, I'll be giving Rin Trick a 7.25 out of 10, with the main thing holding it back being how little the level is themed after you hit the drop. Oh, and no, this isn't the best circles level. The best one's obviously mine.